Okay, Shalom Akim, Kal Halalim La Yahaba Shem Yahshua Bashem Kudash, and double honors to the great Muslim apostles. Thadi Yahshua for the strength and order to make this video, and Yara Tazar that this also helps to build you up, as well as to encourage you, man, to exhort you. It's the brother Ra'azar Raha Halawaya, same name as the channel name, in the ancient Hebrew. So, brief introduction as well. When we say Kal Halalim La, it means all praises to. Kal means all. Halal means praises. La means to. And when we say Bahashem, we're saying in the name. Ba means in, Ha means the, and then Sham means name. So we're saying Kal Halalim La Yahweh, which is the Most High's name, the God's name. The world ignorantly calls him God, but his real name is Yahweh, which means he is, he exists, or he is to be. And when we say Bahashem, as I just said, it means in the name. Ba means in, Ha means the, Sham means name. And when we say Yahushai, we're saying he delivers, or he the deliverer, which means which is the meaning of Yahushai's name. The world in ignorance again calls him Jesus Christ, but his real name is Yahushai, man. So when we say Bahashem Racha Kodash, we're saying in the name, Spirit, Holy. Racha means Spirit, Kodash means Holy. So we're saying through the Holy Spirit. That's how we get connected to Yahushai. And then of course through Yahushai, he's our mediator. That's how we then get intervention from the Most High Yahweh, man, through our mediator Yahushai. But anyway, that's just a brief introduction. And also Ra'azah Racha Halawa, my name, in the ancient Hebrew, means willing spirit, praise Yahweh, man. Ra'azah means will or willing, and then Racha meaning spirit, and Halawa meaning praise Yahweh. So anyways, getting to the point of this video as I named it. Let me check that name, because sometimes, here and there, Yarat is on the video. Sometimes I'll just go straight to the videos. Other times I'll do the intro, here and there, just to get any new brothers, up to date with that. But yeah, as I named it, I'm going to read it out. We learn stability and stoicism of mind as we reason through scriptures. Because obviously there are things of which brothers go through. Obviously everybody's got their, cross to bear and whatnot. Their afflictions to go through and thorns and things of which the Most High then puts upon them to endure through, which is really for their fortification, for their mind strength to be strengthened as preparation for Jacob's trouble as well. When the Most High puts a chastening upon us, which chastening is for correction, by the way. Going into Hebrews 12, in verse 4. But point is that these things, these sufferings that we go through is to fortify our minds. That's the point. Hence the word stability and stoicism. And we're going to get into it, man. We're going to get into it. Just to warm up the lesson. That's a way for me to say that. But yeah, to just ensure that context is understood. You guys understand the scenario of what I'm talking about. All right, let's get to stability, the definition here. Because we're going to need that stability when everyone else is going to be going crazy, man. And trust Yahweh Shem Yahushua that it's going to be a lot of crazy stuff. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to lose their minds. They will not have stability, man. The so-called, people of the world, that involves family, that involves friends, that involves, your work colleagues that you might be communicating with, at work and whatnot, or whatever communities, the neighbors, people will go crazy, man. That's the point, because they ain't got the scriptures to provide them the stability of their mind. And the scriptures is literally the words of Yahweh, Yahushai, Yahweh, and Yahushai. So anyways, stability, the Google definition, it says a state of being stable. Some synonyms, which are just similar words, are firmness, solidity, steadiness, strength, fastness, stoutness. So what does stoutness mean? It says stoutness means it's a quality of being fat or heavy build. You're firm on the ground. Fat or heavy build, like these bodybuilders. Of whom have muscles upon muscles. I remember Ronnie Coleman back in his day, early 2000s, man, or even we could say in the 90s, he was flipping, as I think, point is, he had muscles upon muscles, man. Some other ones as well, Jay Cutler, But Ronnie Coleman was the main known Jake for muscle building, man. But yeah, anyways, he had a heavy build, as it says in the definition of stoutness, a quality of being fat or of heavy build. So anyway, so that's stoutness, which is another synonym for stability or stable. So stability means a state of being stable, and other synonyms again: firmness, stability, no, luck. Firmness, solidity, steadiness, strength, fastness, stoutness. That's a heavy build. Security, safety, balance. So those are the main. There's some other ones here, but I won't read all of it. But the closest ones to stability is firmness, solidity, steadiness, strength. I'll even say security, safety, and even balance as well. And we get all of those. We get our strength, our firmness, spiritually, mentally, and physically through Yahweh Shem Yahshua. We get our security and our safety through Yahweh Shem Yahshua, man. So that stability says the state of being stable. So you can even go deeper and say, what does stable mean? In fact, before I even get that, if I get the definition of stable now, let me just get a precept. Gotta get that precept, man. Because again, that's how we reason. We reason with these scriptures. That's how. And if you can't reason with the scriptures, you won't have stability in the time of Jacob's trouble, man. Because these scriptures is a guide. When you reason, you're talking to yourself. Well, in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. You allow Harkhat Kodash to enter into your thoughts, and then that's when you reason. You say, okay, what do I do in this scenario? Then precept 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, will then enter into your head. Or it could be just 1 or 2 precepts, man. Then that's all that you need, to be guided on what to do, for that scenario. In other words, Harkhat Kodash, as you meditate on these scriptures, Harkhat Kodash will guide your actions as well. When I say Harkhat Kodash, that means the Holy Spirit, by the way. Just to repeat myself, as I said in the beginning, in the intro. So the point is, we reason with the scriptures, which means we think about them. They affect our decisions in our day-to-day lives. And of course, Harkhat Kodash will then help us through those scriptures to know what direction to go in whenever we face certain challenges. Especially in Jacob's trouble. It could be a simple thing as, okay, what path do you go, left or right? And the Spirit could say go right, or it could say go left. You get that intuition, man, and that's going to be honed by these scriptures as well. You could have a spiritual sign and they say, okay, it could be go right, or it could be go left. Whichever one it may be, Spirit's going to be strong on you, and you have to have faith that the Holy Spirit will deal with you to be able to guide you in these times, man. And all you got to do is just go on the news, and you're going to see a whole heap load of things that are happening. In terms of technology, the advancements of AI, of course, humanoids as well. You're going to see a lot of stuff there. AI probably going to go rogue soon, where they're going to have AGI, which I did some research as well. AI, or an example of AI, could be seen as artificial narrow intelligence. That's the lower level stuff, man. When you train it to do one task. And when you go into AGI, that's artificial general intelligence. When you just train it to pretty much replicate what humans do. So the same way as we think, Esau's trying to replicate how a human thinks and do that, which is really just the creation of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. He's trying to replicate the creation of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. But we know, I'm going to get into another lesson, but this is just a brief thing. Telling you, I've done a video on it, but point is, so that's AGI. AGI is like Esau trying to replicate the Most High's creation, how us humans think. And you got ASI, artificial super intelligence. That's when you make AI a so-called God, which would be an idol in this case, where the intelligence was far surpass humans, man, which would be madness. So you see what Esau's trying to do now. He's trying to create something that's going to be to his own detriment, man, to his own destruction. So anyways, oh yeah, this is actually the perfect preset. Let me get this. The age-old preset, man. And these presets, man, they don't expire, man. They do not expire. They're always sound. Imagine words that are written a long time ago. Now you're using it today, man. That shows that wisdom ain't limited by time. It is not limited by time. There's even precepts on that, on wisdom being with the Most High, from the beginning. But first, let me get this. Let me open the door, man. Hold on. Over here in the UK, we're having some very hot weather. I can say that. You already feel the sweats coming up, man. But yeah, anyways, Isaiah 33 and verse 6. Hold on. So Isaiah 33 and 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure, man. So, the word treasure is something that where it's like, how can I say this? You keep hold of it close to you, man. You keep it safe. You're always aware of where that treasure is, man. Wherever, because obviously I'm likening it onto like a physical treasure chest, man. The movies like Pirates of the Caribbean and all of that, where they go and hunt some treasure. The point is, wherever a person has as treasure, they keep it close, they keep it safe, they keep it secure. They're always aware of it as well. That's the point. Their attention is on it, to look after it. So the point is, it says, and our treasure is the wisdom and knowledge, as it says here. It says the fear of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is his treasure, man. And we know that fundamentally fear is the beginning of knowledge, as it says in Proverbs 1 and verse 7 as well. It's the beginning of knowledge, man. That knowledge is based upon the scriptures, which is the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. In order to have knowledge, you gotta read, you gotta study, you gotta pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua so that you have the understanding. Because of course you can't just have the knowledge and then have no understanding of how it works. Because if you ain't got the understanding, you can't apply it. You can't apply the knowledge. So you have to have the understanding to acquire the knowledge. And fundamentally, that requires fear of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua to be able to even acquire it anyways. Because it's got to be able to work with your mind to comprehend these precepts. Alright, so let me read it again. Isaiah 33 and verse 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time and strength of salvation. So of course it says it's going to be stability. That word again, stability, which is is how stable you are. Let me get that definition again. It says for stability, the state of being stable, man. So yeah, it's the state of being stable. That's what stability means. And in order to increase our stability, we need to increase in our wisdom and in our knowledge, man, which is through these scriptures, the words of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And of course, those then give us the practices such as prayer and fasting, and also as well as increasing our faith, man, which we do by these actions of study, as well as prayer, as well as fasting. This helps to increase our faith immensely by a huge amount. So it says, so that's how you increase your stability, man, just to keep things plain. So, and wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. And when you fear Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, that causes you to do things or which are right in their eyes. And of course, you remove the fears of the world. And of course, the fear of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is really what guides you. That's why it says here in the latter part, it says, and the strength of salvation, the fear of the Lord Yahweh, which when it says Lord in capitals, that's referring to the Most High Yahweh. We say Bahashem Yahushua as well, because it's through Yahushua, that's how we're going to get to Yahweh, man. But if you were to read it, with the name Yahweh, it will literally say Yahweh, man, instead of Lord, in capitals. So that's why we say Yahweh or Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. So the fear of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is his treasure, man. So the fear is fundamental, man. It is fundamental in these times. So that when it comes to Esau trying to inflict fear, we don't see it as anything. It's going to be nothing to us. That's the point. So anyways, that's Isaiah 33 and 6. I said I was going to read the definition of stable. So it says here, So I read stability. Now let's get into stable. So it says for stable in the Google definition of an object or structure not likely to give way or overturn, firmly fixed. You see? So it says in the synonyms, it also says firm, solid, steady. Those are the synonyms of stable, man. So we're going to be steady, we're going to be firm, we're going to be solid, man, in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai in that time. When everyone else is fearing, and, shaky and scared for all these things that are going to be happening and all the evils that are going to be happening, we're going to be stable, we're going to be solid because we have, the rivers of flowing water, which is a metaphor of the scriptures, of the truth of the scriptures, the true understanding of the scriptures flowing within us, man, in that time. So that's the definition of stable, firmly fixed. Yeah, so it says here, another one, it says sane and sensible, not easily upset or disturbed. Because I remember when I said that I named the title, what did I name it? I said about stoicism and stability, man. We learn stability and stoicism as we learn stability and stoicism of the mind as we learn, as we reason through these scriptures. So something along those lines. It says sane and sensible, not easily upset or disturbed, man. Esau's gonna have many tactics to poke people, to make them get provoked and angry and whatnot. So people are gonna lose their sanity. That's why it says here, to be stable, it means to be sane, to be sensible, not easily upset. So you don't get triggered by people or disturbed, man. And typically, when it comes to not being upset or not being disturbed, it can be the hardest thing with family, man. Brothers can speak on that for real. It could be the hardest thing with family to not easily get upset or to not be disturbed by them. So that's why you gotta pray and also fast, to Yahweh Shem Yashai to give you that chazak. And chazak means strength, man. To endure whatever you gotta endure, and also so that you can apply that stable mindset, man, which is through these scriptures. It's just through these scriptures. So let's get before I get the definition of stoicism, let me get another precept here. Get me another precept, man. Hold on. Yeah, man. So wisdom and knowledge is going to be the stability of our times, man. Now, remember when Apostle taught, and even, of course, knowledge also refers to the knowledge we have of the scriptures too, but even this general knowledge would be quite useful too, man. Now, I remember when Apostle Gabar made a video, I think it was either last year or 2 years back, on taking cold showers, man. So obviously each bro with their own, you're not wrong if you don't take a cold shower, because there's benefits to both. The warm ones, they help to open your vessels. So of course nutrients can flow well. Let's say if you had a workout or something. Really, when you work out, that opens your vessels anyways. When you breathe deeper, that also helps to open your blood vessels too. Your arteries, your veins. So anyways, so that's on the warm side. But on the cold side as well, that also helps with immunity. I know that's a major one as well. Of course, cold water also constricts the blood vessels, depending on how cold it is, I could say. But the point is there's benefits for both, man. I've tried it out. The immunity does actually go up, especially during winter, or even summer as well. For brothers who do it, there's those benefits, man. Less you could say less mucus is also another benefit of cold showers. Well, not to go on a tangent. The point is, Apostle Gabar did mention about the benefits of cold showers. You can research it. There are many benefits of taking cold showers, man. It could be maybe once a week or something, twice a week, or if you want to do the extremes, every day. There ain't nothing wrong with either, man. But yeah, you also preparing your mind for it helps to strengthen your willpower as well. Just you doing something that you don't want to do, it strengthens that part of the brain. I think they call it the mid-cingulate cortex or something like that. I watched it in a neuroscientist podcast. But point is, let's get back to it. Apostle Gabar did mention about the benefits of cold showers, because you never know when that time comes where we could easily be in a wilderness or something. Remember, some of us are going to be pilgrims on the earth. Some of us will be pilgrims. Some of us are going to be arrested. Some of us will be in prison. So those of us who are pilgrims, or those of us who eventually become pilgrims, because you could be in prison for a little bit and then become a pilgrim. So, anyways, focusing on the pilgrim part, which is you just roaming around whatever city that you may be in. You could be in the wilderness and there could be a lake. To take a bath, maybe you haven't had a bath for some days, just jump in the lake and rinse yourself, man. It's the Most High who directed you towards that path to go to the lake anyways. And that lake gonna be cold. Unless it's a hot summer's day. But yeah, that lake is typically gonna be very cold, man, especially in the mornings. So you're just gonna have to, dive in the lake, and wash off. Obviously take off your clothes, wash off, and then, get going, man. Put on your clothes and then get going and, journey on. So you never know, man. These things can happen. The Most High could easily direct you to that type of a place, and to wash off yourself. So that would be another advantage. Those brothers who've been taking those cold showers, they'll have a benefit to that, man. But anyways, so that's just on a point on general knowledge, can be quite useful too. But fundamentally, the knowledge that we've got to have in our minds is the scriptures, man. The scriptures right here, from the Holy Bible, which again is there was actually a name for it in the ancient Hebrew. I don't know if it's yeah, man. Anyways, the point is the scriptures we refer to the Holy Bible. So Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge would be the stability of thy mind and the strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. So of course we keep fear very, very close to us, because we know the fear of Yahweh Shemashah actually guides us. When you fear Yahweh Yahushua, you always consider Yahweh Yahushua in your decisions. That's really what fear means. Anyways, so let's get another precept here. Let's get another precept. As Isaiah 28:10, precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, man. So that's why we do a little that's why we go from precept to precept, line upon line, because it's a necessity to get the understanding. You can't just say, okay, you're going to stick within this chapter and that's it. You use other precepts to support that chapter too. So yeah, man. Unless of course you're reading a story, then even when you're reading a story, you could use other precepts to support that, depending on your level of knowledge that you study for. Anyways, let's get this precept first. Alright. Alright, so Proverbs 27 and verse 12. So Proverbs 27 and verse 12, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. See? And prudence goes into having foresight as well, man, having care for the future. For those of us, the prophets, we prophesy, man. Of course, on the words of Yahweh Shemashah, and the words of Yahweh Shemashah, specifically the prophecies, are based upon future events that are about to happen or are actually happening right now. For example, Matthew 24, we know about the wars and rumors of wars. There's a lot that's happened, man. You had the India and Pakistan, little conflict there. Then you had the, of course, right now that's currently going on with the Israel and Iran conflict that's going on too. Constant sending of projectiles between each other. So there's a lot going on, man. Them prophecies are going on right now. So it says a prudent man foreseeth, and yes, we foresee this evil, going into bad times, and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So fundamentally, how do we then hide ourselves, man? First of all, we have to know the names Yahweh and Yahushua, because let me get this precept right now. I think it's even in Proverbs as well. The prudent foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. And that's what a wise person would do. If you foresee something, you can't just stand there and say, all right, let me just die for no reason, or make a mistake on purpose when I've already known what's about to happen. A sensible person, which is what stable means, someone who's sensible, or has a sanity, as it says here, definition of stable means sane and sensible, not easily upset or disturbed. So, of course, a sensible person will see the evil and actually prepare to avoid it, which is really the judgment of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Now, how do we hide ourselves? That's the question. Now, let me read you this. How do we hide ourselves? I'm gonna answer this with the precepts, man, as the name of the lesson goes. We learn stability and stoicism as we stoicism of the mind as we reason, with the scriptures. And that's what we're doing right now. This is what it means to reason with the scriptures. You have a decision to make, you reason with the scriptures, man. That's what guides us. And ultimately, we get the understanding from learning from those above us, the elder, the apostles, of course, the elder brothers, the elder bishops, and of course, other older brothers, or which are above you as well, man. So, yeah, that's the point. Anyway, let's get to the precept I said I wanted to get. So this is answering the other question in the other precept in Proverbs 27:12, where it says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. How do you hide ourselves? This is the answer. So this is Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. You see? So, of course, that shows you the fundamental way of which we use, to hide ourselves, man, from these upcoming evils. Knowing the names Yahweh, Yahushai, Yahweh, and Yahushai is essential. And, of course, not just knowing the names, but, of course, we've got to apply this knowledge that we have. And to apply it, it means to pray and, of course, to show our faith, man, to Yahweh, Shem Yahushai. And that's shown in many ways. Our faith, remember, faith plus works is faith without works is vain, but of course faith with works would actually bring us a profit, man, spiritual profit, in terms of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, giving us gain, which is that gain is protection in the spiritual realm as well as guidance in the Harakat Kodash, as we're here. So the point is, we hide ourselves by knowing the names of the Lord, but not just knowing them, but we apply it by showing our faith onto Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And how do you show our faith to Yahweh Shem Yahushai? Prayer and the works that we do. Example, the video epistles that we do, the camp sessions that we do when we get together with brothers as well, that we do that. All these works are proof of our faith, man. That's one portion. Another portion of proof of faith as well is when you go through suffering, can you also apply the scriptures? Even just simple ones such as, sometimes family members, trying to trigger you, trying to get you angry. Remember, scriptures talk about being slow to wrath. Also even when you're in your communication, when you're in your speech, it says be slow to speak, be quick to hear. As they say, 2 ears, 1 mouth. So it makes sense, man. That 2 ears, 1 mouth, it makes sense because that's from the scriptures. So, it means listen more than you speak, especially when you're a young one, just like myself. So these are just the simple scenarios. So simple scenarios, how much more the bigger scenarios, such as Jacob's trouble, man, where Esau is going to try and infiltrate into our minds. That's when you got to be meditating on precepts such as ye are more than conquerors, through Yahweh, cast your burdens onto me through Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Which when you're casting your burden, you're sending up a prayer so that Yahushua gives you strength. You're conquerors. Be strong and of good courage. Joshua 1:9. More of those precepts of which give you strength in that time. That's you meditating, which means thinking on the words of Yahweh and Yahushua, man, to really exhort you, to encourage you in that time. So that's how that's how we're gonna be stable in those days. So that's just a major example that I've been not major, but just examples that I've been showing of how we hide ourselves, through using the names Yahweh, Yahweh. And that's how we actually do it. We actually do it through these works, through praying, through fasting, all towards Yahweh Shem Yahshai. That's how we hide in that's how we get protection from Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Hence the metaphor of Proverbs 18 and 10. The name of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai is a strong tower. It's not just a tower, it's a strong tower. Emphasis on strong. So even the tower is stable, man. So of course, if the most, not if, it is, Yahweh Shem Yahshai is a stability for us, man. So of course, through those names, we also will be stable in these shaky times, which is only shaky for those who fear the evil times, man. Anyway, so the name of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshai is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. So I've already explained how we hide ourselves, man, through using and actively applying those names, prayer, fasting, and these works that we do. That's how we prove our faith to Yahweh Yahushua. All right, and yeah, man, that's the thing. So that's an example of faith. So let me get this one here. Hold on, let me get this one here. So Proverbs 18 and verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So, of course, you got to be careful of what you be speaking to yourself, man. You constantly say that, you're sick. You will actually generally be sick, man. I think there's actually research, of Esau's science saying that even just meditating on the thoughts, on negative thoughts, actually brings the immunity levels down, man. It brings your the state of health of your vessel down, especially when it's repeated every single day for weeks, months, in years. That's when you get a depressed person, man. So despite all the things that we go through, we still have to speak life. And the words of Yahweh Shem Yahshai are rivers of flowing water, man. We're a lively stone, so of course we ought to speak life. And when I say lively stones, I'm referring to that precept here in First Peter. And a lively stone has life, man. A lively stone has life. So therefore, we have to be speaking life. How do you speak life? We speak life through these scriptures. Hence why it's essential to meditate upon precepts that strengthen your mind, strengthen your spirit. So yeah, and we all got to apply that. I got to apply that, man. Sometimes it can be hard applying it, especially when you're in that scenario where you're in that bogged down state, externals, such as people of the world trying to flipping put down your spirit. And it could be family members as well. But in those moments, you're supposed to meditate on the precepts to be able to strengthen your spirit, man. And it's practice. The more you do it, the stronger you'll become. Now, where's this precept that I said I was going to get? It's in First Peter. Typically, applying precepts when you're in a sensitive situation, it can be very challenging, but it's a worthy battle because it will strengthen your mind, especially when you overcome it. And of course, if you fall, pray to Yahweh Shem Yahshai for strength and maintain faith that He will keep and increase your strength, man. You gotta remain positive in this truth, man. You gotta remain positive. Don't get into negative spirals because Esau's gonna leverage that. Demons will leverage those negative spirals, and that's when being unprofitable in this truth would be a consequence, which we don't seek that. That's why it's very essential to pray for strength. Anyways, where's that? Hold on. All right, First Peter 2. So 1 Peter 2 and 5, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house, an holy priesthood, to offer up a spiritual sacrifice acceptable to the Most High by Yahushua HaMashiach, man. So we are lively stones. The lively stones have to be speaking life, as we said here. Proverbs chapter 18 and 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, which means there's death. You can either speak death or you speak life through the words that come out of your mouth. And death doesn't mean literally death. It can mean literally death, but it typically means things that are a detriment to yourself or to even others as well. That's why you gotta be careful of what words that you say. You know, they say the English language is also an example of spell casting, because when you get into the root words of certain words, you then realize the true meaning of them. You know, so you gotta be very cautious. And yeah, pray to Yahweh Shai so that your lips are guided, man. It says, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof, man. So, you know, whether they speak death, whether a person speaks death, whether a person speaks life, you're going to reap the fruit, man. You're gonna see the consequence. So you can liken that as really a spiritual power as well, man. The Most High giving us the power of life and death, literally just by the words that we say. You know, so we have to be careful. And, you know, words first come from the mind as well. You know, so that's something else, man. That's something else. So you got to be very cautious of the words that come out of your mouth. Anyways. All right, so that's 1 Peter 2 and 5. Yeah, ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house. So yeah, we are lively stones, so we have to speak life. We speak life predominantly through these scriptures, man. Even every day as well, you know, maybe when you're having a typical conversation, man, you know, you got to be more so grateful for what Yahweh Shem Yashai has given us, and also the strength, you know, that is also giving you, instead of being, saying that you're sick or all of this. Now, of course, yes, we use words, but point is keeping that positive vibration of Harcha Kodash. You know, that's by speaking life, man. You know, we can do all things through Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, man. You know, Philippians 4 and 13. Yeah, so that's Proverbs. Let's see. Where's Psalms, man? Okay, so Psalms. The one before. Psalms 115. Oh, before I even get that, I almost forgot. Let me actually get the definition of Stoicism now. We've got stability, that goes into firmness, steadiness. There are security, safety. Those are synonyms for it. Someone keeping their sanity, someone who is sensible and not easy to upset as well. Right. So let me get the definition for Stoicism or Stoic. What does it mean to be Stoic? Because this is a word that's amongst the brotherhood as well. You know, of course, you hear of it, but to apply it, that's the challenge right there. You know, just like the way when applying the precepts, that's really you living by the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And you pray for strength to do so. All right, so Stoic, the definition of Stoic, it says a person who can endure pain. This is the Google definition. So the definition of Stoic, a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. You see? It says of or belonging to Stoics or their school of philosophy, another term for stoical or stoical. Let me check that one now.
Stoical.
Okay, so stoical. You know, with stoical just goes into stoic.
Stoic.
Yep, stoic. Once more, a person who can endure pain and hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. You know, precepts that come to mind is, one, suffering wrongfully. You know, because the Most High is actually pleased with a person who suffers wrongfully. He says that in that precept there. Another one as well is also, Yahweh Shai being silent as well, despite him being bruised. Hold on, there's another one too. Or endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, man. So that endure hardness, that the Stoics got it from the scriptures, man. The Stoics got it from the scriptures. So for us to apply stoicism, read the scriptures support stoicism anyways, because it's a type of lifestyle, it's a type of life for which the prophets ought to have, man, to endure the pain and hardship without showing their feelings or complaining, man. Because certain things, we go through, but the ability to just not really show the feeling, still remain positive, that shows a very innate level of strength, man. It shows an innate means a deep level of strength. To be able to remain positive despite you going through bullshit before, that's what Yahushua went through as well. Having to endure, the things from his family, you know, and then what else is there? There's a whole load of things, man, that Yahushua went through. Of course, you can't forget about him dying for Israel, man. Still being mocked by those Roman soldiers. It was basically humiliation at that point, man. So all of that, he did that without, much showing of his feelings or complaining, man. So we ought to learn from Yahushua being the major example. A person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. And that shows a great and ultra level of stability, man, of the mind. To be able to go through all that stress, hardship, pain, and still not show it, it doesn't mean that you don't cry or nothing, you do that in your own time, but to not show it to other people, that takes another level of strength, man. So we're going to need to pray to Yahweh Shema Shai to Shalak Chazak, which means to send strength, for us. So yeah, man, that's the definition of stoicism, and that's what we ought to. That's the mind frame that will be very beneficial for us, and the scriptures are supporting that as well. Endure hardness as a soldier, as a good soldier of Yahushua HaMashiach. All right, where's this precept? So Psalms 119:4, thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently. So the Most High, Yahweh, and of course Yahushua has commanded us to keep the precepts diligently, man. To keep the precepts diligently means diligently. To be diligent, it means to have to be careful and to be persistent. That's what it means to be diligent. So when it says keep the precepts diligently, it means you gotta be thinking about it, man. Actively applying it too. And the Most High will send scenarios to test that out as well, man. It's like, okay, have you learned this? Have you learned that? Have you learned this? Have you learned that? All right, let me toss this at you. How are you gonna handle that? So really, we pray to Yahweh Shem Yashai to guide our steps with these scriptures that we study so that we know what to do. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'm just thinking if there's any other precepts. Because that's really the point of the lesson. The point is, we reason with the precepts so that we're guided through her heart with us, through the Holy Spirit, so that we're stable in the mind, and we also apply stoicism in the time to come. So we endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua, without complaining, without showing much feeling, man. Because at the end of the day, the mission must be complete. That's why it says it is done. Yeah, man. So, and then Yara Tazar, in our time, we're going to say it is done as well. Whether we die or we're in those chariots and we say it is done, the point is the mission completed, man. Right. Hold on. Let me read this final precept and I'm going to close out. So Psalms 115 and verse 9. O Israel, trust thou in the Lord Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. So Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Yahweh through Yahushai. That's how we get our help. And that's how we get our shield, man. So really, you got to have the names. You got to have the names. Yahweh Yahushai. Not Jesus Christ, not God. You got to have the names Yahweh. That's the real name of God. And you got to have the name Yahushua. That's the real Messiah. Not Jesus Christ. So the name is Yahweh wa Yahushua. Yahweh, the name of God. Yahushua, the name of the Messiah. As I explained it in the beginning. So they are our help and our shield, man. So that's why we don't really need to, be worrisome or worrying about, certain of these evils are going to happen, whether it be famine or some extreme things that, how we're going to eat in that day and whatnot. You ain't got to worry. Now, of course, I'm not saying be dumb and, don't do nothing. If you're able to afford a few extra supplies, here and there, you can do that. But the point is, the Most High is going to have a time limit, on your ability to use that. You could say, all right, he's going to allow you to use it for a certain amount of weeks or months, or even just days. Then it could be after a few days, after a few weeks, or after a few months. All right, it's time to go and start being a pilgrim and go from place to place wherever the Most High sends your spirit as He guides you. Whenever Yahweh Shai guides you, I should be saying, because He is our mediator. So He is our help and our shield, and these are the precepts that we need to meditate on diligently. Psalms 119 and verse 4, and this was what will help to nourish our vessels and to innately be confident in Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, which means to have faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, to have that trust. He's our help and our shield, man. So we're going to be protected, we're going to be helped, we're going to be supported, man. So I'm going to end off there, Yaratazar, that this has really been an exhortation, an encouragement for you brothers. And Thawdi Yahshua for the strength in order to make this video. And Kal Halalim La, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Bashem Kal Kudash. Once more, double honors to the Emerson Apostles, Thawdi Yahshua, for the strength once more, again, to do this video. Shalom.